Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about Electronic Arts, and unfortunately it's them canceling a game and closing down a studio that was making it. We're going to be on PC Gamer once again today. This is by Andy Chalk. Thank you for the article. It'll be linked down in the description if you would like to check it out for yourself. The title goes, Electronic Arts cancels Black Panther game and closes the studio making it. Cliffhanger Games and the single-player Black Panther project was announced less than 2 years ago. And honestly, this is very surprising to me because we haven't really heard too much from it, but I mean, that's not a bad thing. It was announced 2 years ago, so generally these games take like 3, 4, maybe even 5 years to make. It's surprising to me that they canceled it. Maybe the article will get into like why, or if they ever said anything about why, because this is kind of out of the blue, honestly. I feel like this is just out of completely left field, and it seems to be maybe behind the scenes stuff wasn't as good as we thought it was. It didn't seem to be going that poorly, but maybe it was internal testing and stuff like that, or not good enough direction, maybe. Who knows at this point. Just before we get into the article, I'd like to remind everyone, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. Once we do, I'll be doing a Q&A video, so if you're interested in any of that, please subscribe. The bloodletting continues at Electronic Arts, which has confirmed an IGN report that the Black Panther game announced in 2023 has been cancelled. Developer Cliffhanger Games is being closed as a result of the cancellation, and separately EA is making other layoffs across some of its other teams, although the number of people being put out of work is unknown. Oh wow, so it seems like this is a bigger cut than I thought it was going to be, because it's not just the studio, it's also other teams. I mean, EA has been kind of hurting recently because Apex is kind of going down. Battlefield 2042 was really not a successful game. The new Dragon Age game was pretty upsetting, or not upsetting, I guess that's not the really it was disappointing, especially in sales. Mass Effect still kind of like exists, but it hasn't had a new game in a while, and the last new game wasn't very good, or at least was very divisive. You either liked it or you didn't like it, and there was no in between. So it kind of makes sense in terms of that, but it feels weird because I feel like a single player Black Panther game is exactly what would help the studio come back, because that really doesn't really exist anywhere. I don't think there's Black Panther video games really out there. So it's kind of surprising, honestly. Cancellation of the Black Panther game was relayed to employees in an email sent by EA Entertainment, a technology president Laura Miele. According to the report, Miele said in the email that the decision to halt the project and shutter the studio was necessary to sharpen our focus and put our creative energy behind the most significant growth opportunities. That means Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex Legends, Miele said, although EA will also continue working on the Iron Man game announced in 2022, the new Star Wars Jedi game in development, and the next Mass Effect game. So in other words, everything. This is not sharpening your focus. This is just PR speak of where we didn't think this game was going to do well, so they're canceling. Or they need to make up losses from other games, so canceling this game can be... They can just shuffle this up as profit because they're firing people, so they're not paying them anymore? As I feel like the move then, because like if they said they wanted to grow like more significant growth opportunities, and if they ended at these games, I'm like, okay, that's 4 games, but no, you're working on an Iron Man game, you're working on a new Star Wars game, and the next Mass Effect game. So you're not really focusing, you're just firing a bunch of people because you need to make up losses from games like Battlefield performing poorly and Apex performing poorly recently. And EA sports games are really down. It's actually interesting that they don't mention the sports games. Whereas it's called FC Sports or whatever now, or because it's not called FIFA anymore. I wonder why the EA sports games are not here. Interesting. These decisions are hard, Melee wrote in the email. They affect the people we've worked with, learned from, and shared real moments with. We're doing everything we can to support them, including finding opportunities within EA where we've had success helping people land in new roles. Then the Black Panther game and shutdown of Cliffhanger, which again was founded less than 2 years ago. Yeah, I was about to say, this studio was created for this game. Come less than a month after EA laid off 300 to 400 people and canceled 2 incubated projects that happened just 3 months after the company made significant cuts to BioWare following the failure of Dragon Age: The Vanguard to meet sales projections. Yeah, EA seems to be bleeding everywhere, mostly because of terrible bad decisions and the fact that FIFA or FC Sports, or the soccer game that they make, isn't doing as well as they would like to, especially with new gambling laws in a lot of places, and sports games in general kind of being on a decline. So it's hilarious to me that they're canceling all these other games that probably might have made them enough money to go forward with other things, But it also, I feel like AAA companies, I feel like there is no middle of the ground, middle of the road way of success. You can't just make a small but focused game anymore. And even though technically things like, Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex are like, they are focused games, like obviously Battle Royale, skateboarding, life sim, and like a first person shooter war game, they can't just make a game and then have it be there. There has to be extra things attached to it, like DLCs, microtransactions, all that stuff. And I feel like that's where the AAA industry is really falling apart, because there's only so much you can do. And a lot of people, I feel like even when I'm not talking about just purely the internet, like I feel like gamers in general are getting sick and tired of battle passes and cash shops and half finished games. So I feel like the AAA industry is really starting to feel the karma of having such terrible systems all the time in every single game, because some of the most successful games recently have been single player games. Like, I mean, some of the bigger ones is like Baldur's Gate 3. Recently it's Expeditions 33, who have sold millions of copies, which is crazy, and they made the game on a budget, on a relatively small budget. It was in the tens of millions of dollars, which is really small for, especially for AAA companies, and they've made that back from what I can tell, especially with other deals as well, because they're on like Xbox Game Pass and everything. So I feel like these AAA companies are just, their bloated budgets and bloated everything are just like finally hitting them in their wallets, which is really hurting, and the shareholders are very unhappy. And it sucks because a lot of these AAA companies like EA have these really cool IPs that people want to see more games of, and it's just not happening because it's too risky. They need to have their next big game, and I just don't think it's going to happen because, like, Apex is way past its prime. Skate is interesting. Skate has a potential, but I don't think that's going to be the $1 billion game that they want it to be. The Sims exists and is a pretty big deal, but I'm very isolated from that group of people. But from what I can tell, people enjoy The Sims 4, and I don't think Sims 5 is on the way. I haven't heard any rumors of Sims 5. They're just constantly making DLC for Sims 4. The next Battlefield game seems to be shaping up to be pretty good, but Battlefield has always been more of a niche game. Like, that game doesn't sell it doesn't sell tens of millions of copies. So I don't even know what they're banking on at this point. Are they expecting Mass Effect to like go crazy? Because I don't think it's going to. With BioWare's recent games, I just don't think anyone trusts BioWare enough to buy them, especially with how bad Vanguard was. Mostly because of the writing. Like, Vanguard's writing was awful and terrible, and all the characters were boring. The gameplay was fine, but like the story and everything like that was just boring and wasn't really Dragon Age. So it's going to be interesting to see like the next Mass Effect game, because I don't see that doing very well. The Star Wars Jedi games have been very good, and they were really fun. I've played the first one and I've played a little bit of the second one. So they've been fun. So I'm glad they're still making those games, but I feel like they're really banking on the Mass Effect and Iron Man games to like really sell crazy amounts. And I just don't see them selling a lot. Or maybe they're trying to double down on like Apex for microtransactions or something like that. They're trying to like kick it into gear again, because I just don't really know what they're doing, because basically all of these games, other than maybe Skate, have passed their prime. Like The Sims 4 has been out for a very long time. The next Battlefield game isn't anytime soon. Battlefield 2042 flopped really hard. And Apex Legends isn't at peak. Like, Apex Legends is a game that is like 6 years into its lifespan. So I don't really know what the focus is, or like your creative energy. Like, what do you mean creative energy? I'm confused slightly, because your creative energy should be making games like Black Panther. Like, I just don't understand what their game plan is, especially considering how they didn't even mention their sports games in this email, which is interesting, because I feel like that's a big part of EA as well. But maybe it was a different division. Like, maybe, I guess their sports games maybe are a separate division than the other video games. It would make sense, but I'm not entirely sure. It makes me slightly worried. If you're a fan of EA games, it's really a tough time, because man, is it like rough, especially like even like Battlefront 2 having a recent resurgence recently in the last couple like weeks, and the game hasn't been really active, or like the developer, like there has been no development for that game for years, and it still has a solid player base, which is really sad for the people who enjoy that game, because they know nothing is coming. So It really sucks, especially considering how they've also canceled so many games recently. Like all the recent stuff from EA, it feels like it's me talking about either them canceling a game, firing people, or shutting something down, or all three. So it's really hard to be excited for whatever EA is trying to cook, and the fact that it's EA, they are in fact one of the most hated companies in the world, and especially when it comes to video games. So who knows? Honestly, I feel sad, and I mean, like, hey, the Star Wars Jedi games are fun, and that's great. I'm excited for the new one coming out eventually. The next Mass Effect game is going to be, I think it's going to be a disaster, but I don't want it to be a disaster. I'm not trying to be a hater. Like, I want good video games to come out, but I just don't think BioWare, in my opinion, doesn't exist anymore. Like, the old BioWare, like, everyone left. It's a bunch of people that don't really know BioWare, I feel like. And it's people that are trying to work in the restraints of what EA wants. And what EA wants isn't single player games. They want microtransaction filled multiplayer games. And that's not what Mass Effect is. I mean, people have fond memories of the Mass Effect multiplayer, but I just don't think the new Mass Effect game is going to have a single player game that people want to play. But I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you would like to support the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you dislike it. I understand. You just heard my opinion. I would love to hear your opinion down in the comments below. What you guys think about this whole EA situation with the canceling of the game, the Black Panther game. I think it would have been really cool to have a single player Black Panther game. At least I was assuming it was single player. Maybe it was multiplayer and that's why they canceled it and they just didn't see. No, it has to be single player. It has to be single player. Probably just like the Iron Man game. But I guess we'll never know for the Black Panther game. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads, all at the Techno Jelly on any of those social media platforms. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.